Nation. They ran some of their own local channels that they could help preserve their language and culture. Hey, I think it's fantastic. That's where your knowledge comes from, and it's a credible source. That's fantastic, as opposed to coming from Alex Jones, slipping a little contemporary news from the states here. But yeah, I think as long as your sources are credible, videos on YouTube, and they are fascinating. He has gotten some pushback from tribal members, and they say, "Hey, this is our knowledge, and you shouldn't be sharing it. And this is sacred to the Dene, and you should be saving this for us. You shouldn't be giving this to non-Dene and non-Navajo." And his argument has been, well, it doesn't appear that people are interested in their own history or their own cultural information, and this must survive. And so, if we have to share it with non Navajo for it to survive, then so be it. I think that is a sadly fascinating narrative to the problem at hand. So, hey, wherever you can get your news and your information, as long as it's credible. Um, and by credible, I mean it's oftentimes from the people themselves. If you want to learn about Navajo, go to the Navajo. Don't read a non-Navajo's account of the Navajo. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why is because indigenous humor is hilarious, but you've got to understand that it's humor. And so oftentimes when non-native people would come and try to acquire information about native practices, the natives would screw with them. They say, "Oh yeah, yeah. Well, what this ceremony does is, they'd make something up, not realizing that that person was writing about what this practice was, and it was complete garbage or fabrication." And the indigenous folks would just laugh. And unfortunately, yeah, they did. They believed it. Yes, exactly. They do come from a Western body. That goes through the entire last couple of hours we were talking about, where indigenous people were not considered as sophisticated or as intelligent, but it all is based on what the people, that's the indigenous people's focus is, and their focus is often harmony and balance. Everything has to be in harmony and balance. How you deal with other people has to be relatively harmonious. How you deal with nature and that relationship has to be harmonious. So this goes back to Matakio Wasan in Lakota. That's we're all connected. We're all relatives. So the intent behind that is that you are relatives with everything else. Therefore, you will treat it more respectfully, as opposed to putting yourself as a human above everything else and then utilizing it, exploiting it for your own purposes. That's the crux of Matakio. As relatives, you will treat everybody much kinder. So there you have it. Um, Evidently, Elon appreciated some of that because he left our link alone for a few minutes. Sorry, we had a little bit of a rough patch in some places there with the uplink, but we're greatly appreciative that you rode through that. Um, yeah, Samoset. Well, and interestingly, he was kidnapped by settlers and taken back to Europe, and then he escaped and made his way back here. That's how he knew English. But yes, they were shocked. They were shocked. And also, most of his people were dead by the time he made it back. They had died from disease, disease brought by Europeans. And so, some people say, well, yeah, there wasn't really a genocide because they died from disease, and who could have predicted it? But we do know from colonial documents that at least in one instance, a tribe was infected on purpose, intentionally, with smallpox to eradicate it. Because, you know, this gets into the Western colonial model, which is a whole other conversation, and I can put you to sleep on that. Since we've hit 11 Eastern, I will let you go for now. But if you want to know more about the Western colonial model, whoo doggy, bring your coffee, and we'll have that conversation on a future stream. So thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we'll catch up with you probably on Monday. Over the next few days, we won't be doing this type of live stream, but we might stream some placid plastic ducks, maybe a little game time. It's all dependent on what Elon allows us to do with our network. Yeah, I gotta definitely